So friends, I am starting with cost sheet questions from last 4 examinations. I am starting with January 2021, question number 2, part B. Now if you go through this question, you will find it is very much similar to practical question 1 of study material, study module chapter 6. Practical, that is unsolved questions given at the end, not the illustration, practical question. They are also solved, solution is given. It is quite similar with different figures, conceptually quite similar. Now this question includes reverse working. Why reverse working? Because cost of sales is given and raw material purchases to be computed. So what I will do, I will do all the working notes, make computation of everything and reach raw material purchases. After reaching that, you can make it correctly in the cost sheet format that we studied in last class. So try to understand reverse computation of basic data in this. So I do working note by working note. In exam also it is very much desirable that you do it properly in working notes. What some students do, they do compute everything. Something here, something there, examiner is unable to find. So he is not able to give you proper marks. You lose some marks if you don't create proper working notes. Working note 1, it starts from the data given. Computation of factory overheads. Question tells you direct labor cost equals 120% of factory overheads. It is given equal to rupees 1,20,000. So I can say that 1,20,000 is equal to 120 by 100 multiplied by factory overheads. So what will happen? My factory overheads equal 1,20,000 into 100 by 120 will be equal to factory overheads. Rupees 1 lakh is factory overheads. The reverse computation is yet to start. Reverse computation starts from cost of sale. So working note 2 is on that. I hope that much is clear. Working note 2. Cost of sales is equal to, how do you reach cost of sale? You need to remember what you have done earlier. Cost of goods sold plus selling overheads plus general administration overheads. So cost of sale which is given rupees 4 lakh is equal to cost of goods sold plus rupees 22,000 for selling expenses plus rupees 18,000. Assumed administration expense do not relate to production activity. Preferably it should be assumed like that because word general is there. If general is not there, even then you can assume the same. But then you can take it with production activity also, which can vary some answers. So I am taking it here. Assumptions, you can put a separate list of assumptions, or with every item being treated, you can write in bracket the assumption is there. So what I get there? 4 lakh minus, these are 40,000 is equal to cost of goods sold. 3,60,000 is cost of goods sold. 3,60,000 is cost of goods sold. I am working in reverse order. So before cost of goods sold, what you are getting? Cost of production. So cost of goods sold is equal to cost of production plus opening stock of finished goods minus closing stock of finished goods. 3,60,000 is equal to cost of production plus opening stock of finished goods given 50,000 minus 60,000. So it is minus 10,000 on right hand side will become plus 10,000 here. Cost of production. 3,70,000 is cost of production. Now because there is no cost like research and development, quality control, administration related to production, credit for recovery, scrap, nothing is there. Hence this is also equal to net factory cost. As there is absence of, you can write those 4 items here. Quality control cost, research and development cost, credit for recoveries, administration related to production activity. Again, it is sort of assumption, but it is not given in question. I assume it is not there. So net factory cost is also 3,70,000. Working note 4. Net factory cost is equal to gross factory cost plus opening WIP stock minus closing WIP stock. This is 3,70,000 gross factory cost plus Opening WP stock given at 20,000 minus 30,000. Again it is minus 10,000 on right hand side, will be added on left hand side. Gross factory cost 3,80,000 gross factory cost. Working note 5. Gross factory cost, raw material consumed plus direct labor plus factory overheads. Or if I don't jump to this, I can write like, instead of all this, I can write as prime cost. Prime cost plus factory overheads. 3,80,000 is equal to prime cost plus factory overheads. We were not given, we computed in working note 1, 1 lakh. In working note 1 we computed. So prime cost 3,80,000 minus 1 lakh. 2,80,000. Working note 6. Prime cost equal raw material consumed plus direct labor. Direct expenses assumed to be nil. Normally they are not there. Rare cases it will be there, but normally they are not there. Direct labor we were given 1,20,000. So 1,60,000 raw material consumed. Working note 7. Raw material consumed equal opening stock of raw material plus purchases minus closing stock of raw material. 1,60,000 is equal to opening stock of raw material 20,000 plus purchases minus 25,000. 1,60,000 plus 5,000 is equal to purchases. 1,65,000 is equal to purchases. I've done everything in reverse computation. What you must do is prepare a cost sheet in the format given to you. In that 5 items must be highlighted. A is prime cost. But if you write only answers, you will not get marks. Because question clearly says prepare cost sheet indicating these. B is works cost. Works cost means net factory cost, not gross. It is net. Cost of production, cost of goods sold, cost of sale and profit. This is 4 lakh and 1 lakh. Sale is, profit by default is net profit, not gross profit. So it is 1 lakh. Cost of goods sold, we computed this 3,60,000. Will come in cost sheet also. You can check out there. Cost of goods sold we computed in working note number 2. I am writing net answers, but you must make the cost sheet also. Cost of production in working note 3 I computed. Cost of production 370. Working note 3. This also in working note 3, net factory cost 3,70,000. And prime cost I computed in working note number 5, 280. If question said compute these items, this was the answer. But question is clearly saying prepare a cost sheet showing all these. So prepare in same format the cost sheet which will get all these items. This is the most recent question, January 2021, question number 2B. Another question here is November 2019, question number 3B. Now this particular question is one of the better questions in cost sheet. Now it is again based on reverse cost computation. Involves some good adjustments also, but it is based on reverse cost computation, whereby we are given cost of goods sold and we are required to compute purchases. A similar question is there January 2021, but this is having little better computations because some difficult analysis is also required there. Computation of finished goods cost is involved in this question, not there in the January 2021. Let's go through one by one all the points here. First of all, in working note 1, I make quantity analysis. If I am given cost of goods sold, that is for sold units. If I want to compute cost of production, I need to get per unit cost of production. Multiply with production units, I'll be able to get cost of production. So first I analyze clearly how much units were produced given in question, how much are to be sold, that is what I need to compute. So here given production quantity, it is given in question at 1 lakh units. Question clearly says defective output is 4% of targeted production, less defective units of the targeted production. This is targeted production quantity. Cost sheet is to be prepared on the basis of targets. It is all predicted. Nothing is actual here. Everything is predicted. Targeted production quantity 1 lakh. Defective units are 4% of 1 lakh. 4,000 units. It will be sold as scrap at the rate of 61 per unit. So remember in cost sheet there comes one item, less credit for recoveries. That credit for recovery is sale of scrap of this defective output. 61 multiplied by 4,000 will be scrap, credit for recovery. After cost of production, without when you are reaching cost of goods sold, we deduct credit for recoveries. It is that credit for recovery 61 per unit into 4,000 units. That is what you will get later on. At this moment, quantitative analysis, good units to be produced, 96,000 units. add opening stock units nil less closing stock units given in question at 5,000. So as per my target or budget that I am preparing, units to be sold 91,000 units. This is less. Add opening stock is nil. If I produce good units 96,000, out of that I will keep 5,000 as closing stock. I will be able to sell only 91,000 units. There is no rectification of the formula. It is very logical. I produce total 1 lakh units, 4,000 are defective, 96,000 good units. Out of this 96,000, 5,000 I keep in my closing stock. I am able to sell only 91,000 units. Working note 2. Computation of cost per unit excluding marketing cost, not including general administration, selling distribution or secondary packing cost. All those are excluded because we are given cost excluding those costs. So it is cost of production per unit I am going to get, multiply with production units, I will get cost of production. Let us compute. It is given COGS is equal to rupees 78,26,000 divide by sold units. I computed 91,000 units. Once you divide cost per unit here, if I divide 78,26,000 by 91,000, I'll get 86 per unit. Working note 3. Cost of production. Cost of production is very simple. When I multiply cost per unit with units produced, I will get cost of production. Or alternatively, what I can do, I should look at value of closing stock. Value of closing stock. Let us compute. Let's do it alternatively. Cost of closing finished goods stock. 86 multiplied by 5,000 units. 86 multiplied by 5,000 units. 4,30,000. 4,30,000 rupees. Working note number 4. Cost of goods sold equal cost of production plus opening stock of finished goods minus closing stock of finished goods. Now cost of goods sold was 78,26,000 is equal to cost of production plus 0, opening stock is 0, value will also be 0, minus 4,30,000. So 78,26,000. When this 4,30,000 goes on left hand side, it is added 4,30,000. I am getting cost of production is equal to 82,56,000. Now it can be verified as I was doing earlier. If I have to compute cost of production directly, it is 86 per unit multiplied by good units of production. Good units. Because defective units will not come here, their credit for recovery is reduced before reaching this cost of production. So this is 96,000 multiplied by 86 per unit. It is same. This is verification only. In exam, do you need to give verification? No. You can do it either way. But if you multiply 86 with 1 lakh, it is incorrect. 86 lakh is incorrect. If you compute 86 lakh, subtract from there. Subtract from where? Cost of defective output. So better to look at good units of output, which is 96,000 multiplied by 86 per unit. So easier way is adjustment of stock, reverse computation. But it can be verified, good units of output multiplied by 86 per unit. This is working note number 4. I have computed cost of production. This is heading of working note 4, computation of cost of production. Now I go reverse again. Working note 5. How do I get cost of production? Cost of production is equal to net factory cost plus quality control cost plus what other things are added? Research and development cost, plus administration cost related to production activity minus credit for recoveries. Let me put every known figure. Whatever figure I know, I will put. Cost of production I know 82,56,000. Net factory cost I need to calculate. For that I am making this working. Reverse computation is there. Quality control cost given in question 2 lakh. Research and development cost given in question 2,50,000. Administration related to production activity is 0. There is general administration cost that is going to be coming under selling and distribution. General administration does not come here. It is assumed, you can write assumption, but even otherwise, when it is written general administration, don't consider it to be related to production activity. Credit for recovery I have told you already. You are having how many units? Scrap 4,000, and every unit was to be scrapped at 61 per unit given in question. So 4,000 into 61, it becomes 2,44,000. Now I have to do reverse computation to get net factory cost. So what I will do, net factory cost equals 82,56,000. All signs will change when it will go to the other side. Minus 2 lakh minus 2,50,000 Zero has no role to play. Plus 2,44,000. So 82,56,000 minus it is 450 plus 244. I am getting is 80,50,000. 80,50,000 becomes my net factory cost. What I am doing? Reverse cost computation. So working note 6 is on gross factory cost. Net factory cost is equal to gross factory cost plus opening WIP minus closing WIP. Now, net factory cost I know 80,50,000. Opening WIP should be given in the question. I think given at 2 lakh and closing WIP given at 5 lakh. When you make adjustments, you get gross factory cost 80,50,000 minus 2 lakh plus 5 lakh. It becomes 83,50,000. Keep on checking computations. I hope they are all correct. 83,50,000. Now what I will compute? I will compute prime cost. We are doing reverse computation. Gross factory cost is equal to prime cost plus factory overheads. Prime cost plus factory overheads. You are given two factory overheads. One is consumable stores. Another is lease rental of some production assets. This is 3,50,000. This is 2 lakh. This is what we computed, 83,50,000. So prime cost becomes 83,50,000 minus 5,50,000. It becomes 78 lakh. Working note 8. I hope this is all clear. Working note number 8. Details of prime cost. Prime cost is equal to direct material consumed. I call it DMC in short here, plus direct wages. Always we assume there are no direct expenses unless they are specifically given in the question. Now, question tells me direct labor cost is 50% of direct material cost. So, 78 lakh is equal to DMC plus 0.50 of DMC. My direct wages, they are given to be 50% of direct material costs. It's written in the question, so accordingly I am getting this. So 1.5 DMC is equal to 78 lakh. My DMC will become 78 lakh divided by 1.5. This is 52 lakh. And direct labor cost, direct wages I can call it, 0.5 multiplied by 52 lakh. That is 26 lakh. I'm yet to reach material purchase. That is the last working note. Working note 9. Raw material consumed is equal to opening stock of raw material plus purchases minus closing stock of raw material. This is 52 lakh. Opening stock of raw material should be given to you. You have to check in the question. It is 2,42,000. Plus purchases minus closing stock of raw material 2,92,000. So raw material purchase, last thing to compute here, 52,50,000. Now when you read the question properly, what is the question wanting you to calculate? In first part it says calculate value of raw material purchase. This is answer of part 1. Now second part answer, you will make a cost sheet on your own. Start from raw material, labor, prime cost. Add factory overhead, gross factory cost. Then add opening WIP less closing WIP, net factory cost. Then add quality control, add R&D less scrap for recoveries, credit for recoveries, whatever you call it, scrap sale. What you will get there? Cost of production. Add opening stock of finished goods nil less closing stock of finished goods, you will get cost of goods sold. After cost of goods sold I am making here. But if you start from this in exam, you lose 5 marks. Majority of 5 marks you will not get. So start from beginning, reach cost of goods sold. Cost of goods sold 78,26,000. Add what? Administration, general administration I can call it, 2,24,000. Add secondary packing cost. Secondary packing cost. It is given, I think, 1,82,000. And also, third thing to add here is selling and distribution overheads. $4,13,000. 78,26,000, 2,24,000, 1,82,000, 4,13,000. What I am getting is 86,45,000. The name here is cost of sales. It is also called total cost. Now you are given selling price. So sales I can compute. Sales is 91,000 units multiplied by 110 per unit. Don't try to sell 95,000. 4,000 defective unit we have already sold in credit for recoveries. So only 91,000 unit will be sold at 110 per unit. It is 1,001 then 4 times 0. 1 crore 10,000 I think. Minus 86,45,000. I am getting is profit. This is balancing figure. Sometimes percentage is given. In that case, we add profit and get sales. Here sale is known. So profit I am getting is 13,65,000. This is a complete question. Make it sure in second part you are making the full cost sheet starting from material, labor, prime cost, add factory overhead, gross factory cost, net factory cost, then reach cost of production, then cost of goods sold, and then what I have written here. Then you will be getting full marks. It's not difficult question, but it is one of the better questions in cost sheet concepts. Now next I reach is November 2020, question number 2, part A. Let me tell you, it's a different question than normal cost sheet questions. It involves some language issue that you have to handle very well, and then only the analysis can be done. It's very basic, it's not difficult, but it is different than normal cost sheet questions. It's not like reverse cost computation or direct, you can say straightforward cost sheet. It's a different concept. Basically, you are given material cost, labor cost, factory overhead for the company as a whole, but the company is having two products. One of them is super pen, another is normal pen. The question wants you to analyze for only super pen. So I need to divide the cost, apportion the cost reasonably into two categories of products. But detail I need only for super pen. For example, the direct material cost is given 8 lakh. Now, how much out of 8 lakh is to be spent on super pen and how much on normal pen is very much needed. Unless I know that, I will not be able to make the cost sheet of super pen only. Full company cost sheet can be easily made, but that is not desired at all. What is desired for super pen? So, working note 1. Analysis of materials cost of super pen. I am reading the information given there. It is written, it is ascertained that direct material cost in super pen was twice as much as direct material in normal pen. I am writing this language here. Direct materials cost in super pen is twice as much as direct material in normal pen. Total given there is 8 lakh rupees. Now what students do in exam, they put it in 2:1. 2/3 super pen, 1/3 normal pen. That is wrong. That is not correct. Let us say I am having two different types of pens. One is this purple pen, one is this green pen. If I say cost incurred in this is twice the green pen, it means in every unit I am doing it. Not in totality 2:1. In every unit. And it's little bit of assumption for sure. But I think the only reasonable assumption is this. Presumed in every unit above ratio applies. So if I let material cost per unit in normal pen to be X, for super pen material cost per unit is 2x. Now how I will get total cost 8 lakh? Multiply with units produced and add. Units produced are given 40,000 for super pen 40,000 into 2x plus 1,20,000 into x for normal pen should be equal to 8 lakh. Now, sitting in exam, these points do not come to our mind. You have to understand it is not ratio of total cost, it is ratio which depends on number of units produced. I have done basically algebraically. You can do it in any other manner, the answer has to be same. It becomes 80,000 x plus 1,20,000 x is equal to 8 lakh. It becomes 2 lakh x is 8 lakh rupees. X is rupees 4. So for super pen, material cost per unit is equal to 2x is equal to 2 into 4. 8 per unit. And when applied on units, units are 40,000. Total material cost in super pen. I am not at all interested in normal pen because you are wanted to make cost sheet of super pen only. 8 multiplied by 40,000 rupees 3,20,000 rupees 3,20,000. This is material cost. Now exactly in same manner labor cost shall be dealt. So working note number 2 is on labor cost. Analysis of labor cost. Now what is written there? The total labor cost, total direct wages, which is labor cost also, rupees 4,48,000. Now it is written direct wages for normal pen were 60% for those for super pen. Let wage cost per unit for super pen be Y. X I have used, I will use Y. Wage cost per unit for normal pen 0.60Y multiplied by units 40,000 into Y, 1,20,000 into 0.6Y should be equal to 4,48,000. This becomes 40,000 Y plus 72,000 Y, 4,48,000. 1,12,000 Y, 4,48,000. Y is equal to 4 per unit, and this is for super pen. Total wages in super pen 40,000 into 4, again 1,60,000. Working note 3. He says factory overhead was at same rate for both the types. So factory overhead are little bit easier. It means 1,92,000 to be apportioned in 40,000 ratio 1,20,000. For super pen, 1,92,000. You can do in same manner also. Let it be Z per unit. 40,000 Z plus 1,20,000 Z. 1,60,000 Z is equal to 1,92,000. From there you can get. This is alternative way. In ratio 40,000 divided by 1,60,000. 1,92,000. It's divided by 4. I'm getting is 48,000. For super, it is 48,000. Now the things are very, very simple. Only thing you must be careful about. Remember, stock of finished goods, valuation there. He told you 40,000 units produced and only 36,000 sold. So 4,000 units are going to be closing stock. Do not forget that part. So I'm making proper cost sheet in the real format. It's not difficult, not much items, no WIP, no other items, lots of items are missing. Let me make a proper cost sheet. Cost sheet for super pen. 3 columns I'll make. First column is for particulars. Then cost per unit. Then total cost. Start with direct materials. Add direct wages. No direct expenses, I'll get prime cost. Add factory overheads. There is no WIP concept, so net, gross, all factory cost is same. So I write only factory cost. Now after factory cost, you have to look there. There is no administration cost which is related to production activity. You don't get any more quality control cost. You don't get any that research and development, credit for recovery. You are not getting any of these. So this factory cost is also cost of production. After that, very important, I'll put all the amounts, I'm just putting the format. Less closing stock of finished goods. Now maximum students make mistake here because they forget this implied stock. 40,000 produced, 36,000 sold, 4,000 is closing stock. It's not loss, it's closing stock. Valuation need to come here. After that, what I will get? Cost of goods sold. Add selling and distribution overheads. What I get? Cost of sales, which is also called total cost. Then sales I can get, balancing figure can be profit. Or if I get profit, I can add and get the sale. We'll see to that later. Let us check all the figures now. Direct materials. We computed direct material earlier, 3,20,000. On how many units? 40,000 units. We computed also, it is 8 per unit. 8 per unit. Then direct wages. Direct wages we computed 1,60,000. on 40,000 units, 4 per unit. Prime cost is 12, 4,80,000. Factory overheads added. We computed factory overheads to be added. 48,000. This is on 40,000 units, 1.20. 13.20, 5,28,000. 5,28,000. Now next is important. Closing stock of finished goods. It is okay. There was administration related to so after factory overheads, I'll put administration overhead related to production, assumed to be related to production. Nothing is given. It's not general administration overhead. So assumed to be related to production activity. I'm getting administration overhead. It is given 200% of direct wages. So will be 8 here and 3,20,000 here. 21.20, 5,28,000 plus 3,20,000. It is coming out to 8,48,000. Now comes important thing, closing stock of finished goods. That is what we need to compute carefully. What I am getting, 8,48,000 is cost of 40,000 units, per unit 21.20 multiplied by 4,000 units. From where did I get 4,000? 40,000 produced, 36,000 sold, difference is 4,000. That is what we are getting here. So this is valued on the basis of 21.20. 21.20 multiplied by 4,000. Or simply I can say it is 10% of 8,48,000, 84,800. So once you deduct from 8,48,000, I am getting is 763200. This is for closing stock, but it is not to be reduced in per unit that all costs will be reduced, not like that. So you can even omit this so that it remains 21.20. Add selling and distribution overheads. It is given 1 per super pen, but remember this very carefully. It is 1 per unit sold. Selling overheads are only on units sold. 36,000. So if I add 36,000, I am getting is 799,200. And this has increased to 22.20. You are given selling price 30 per unit. 30 multiplied by 36,000. 10,80,000 is sales revenue. This is profit balancing figure. Minus 799,200. I am getting is 2,80,800. This is 7.80. 7.80. This is the ultimate cost sheet that you need to prepare in this. Now remember two things carefully. One is administration, assumed to be related to production, which I saw later and put it there, and implied, hidden, closing stock of finished goods. This is very, very important. So having done that correctly, now I am getting the profit as answer, 2,80,800, which is per unit 7.80. So this is complete cost sheet question, which is different than normal cost sheet questions. Another question, friends, is May 2019 question 2A. If you read the question carefully, it asks you in first part, prepare cost sheet showing prime cost, showing works cost, cost of production, cost of sale. That is exactly what we have been doing. making a cost sheet. But if you read question more carefully, the classification used here is not only functional classification, uses nature wise cost classification. What is this nature wise cost classification? It is classifying on the basis of fixed overheads, variable overheads, semi variable overheads. If you read point number 3, factory overheads are given 3 types: fixed, variable, semi variable. 4th point, administrative overheads are given fixed. 5th point, selling overheads, it is given per unit, they are variable. So this is a concept that you do under flexible budgets in budgetary control topic. So this question in detail will be able to discuss after doing flexible budgets, the budgetary control topic. So this is a mix of 2 topics. There are many questions which involve concept from more than one topic. So unless you have done both the topics, you will not be able to do that question. So this question I keep pending till flexible budgets. After doing that topic only, we'll be able to do this particular question. Now another question is November 2019, question number 1, part B. This is not exactly on cost sheet, it is on job costing concept. Job costing concept. But when you study this topic in job costing also, what we are preparing is a cost sheet on absorption costing basis. Now this question I am not going to solve exactly. It is very much similar to one module illustration. When you look into your module, which is latest May 2021 edition, on page 9.10, this is module 2, chapter number 9, institute module, ICI module. You get there exactly similar question, which is illustration number 2. Now this illustration I will be explaining in detail. In my running class I have done that, I will put a clip of that. It's all explained how to solve it, how to make a job cost sheet. Still, answers of this November 2019 question, answer I am giving there. This is a practice question for you. You will be looking at illustration 2 in detail with all detailed working I will explain, and exactly in same manner you will be solving this November 2019, and answers you will get: net factory cost 251, total cost 326.30, and selling price 407.88. So go through this illustration first, that I will just explain now, and then do this question November 2019 question 1B and get the same answers as I have given here. Next we reach illustration number 2, which is a typical question on job costing concepts. You are given for a job and you are given a company's P&L statement. Now from company's P&L statement, you need to find absorption rates for different types of overheads. That is the only thing you have to observe from the annual P&L statement given. I'll first do part 2, which says make a revised statement in your own format. So part 2 is what I am starting from. In part 2, I'll also calculate what? Absorption rates. Factory overhead, department X rate, Y rate, Z rate, and selling expense overhead absorption rate. Obviously, whatever profit is given, net profit, I'll get the same figure. There will be no change. But it is to be revised as per the data which is given. So I make the cost statement. I am doing first is part number 2. Revised cost statement for 20x2. Your year can be different depending on the booklets that you are carrying. Materials used 1,50,000. Labor XYZ 10,000, 12,000, 8,000. Total 30,000. Special stores items, it is like chargeable expenses 4,000. I can call it prime cost 1,84,000. Overheads XYZ 5,000, 9,000, 2,000. I put them 16,000, but important thing that I am following here, I'll write here absorption rates. For X department, based on labor, it is 50% of X labor cost. This is 9,000 divided by 12,000. 75% of Y's labor cost. And this is 25% of Z's labor cost. This is what I intend to calculate, for which I am revising the statement. Even if question did not say me in second part make revised statement, I'll be computing these absorption rates. What I get? Factory cost 2 lakh. Add, there is no administration, there is no stock items, so I am reaching is selling expense 20,000. What I am having? 10% of factory cost. This is the absorption rate that I computed. This is important. This is for which I am doing this second part. What I get? Total cost 2,20,000. Sales is given 2,50,000. Balancing figure is profit 30,000. Did I do anything new? No. Whatever was given in question, I have put it in a different format. Same profit I am getting, but I am getting the absorption rates. That is important. Now I reach first part. That is important. From first part, I will be able to reach the third part also. Job cost sheet. The given job cost sheet was not proper because it did not include the overheads. Materials 70. Labor, you want to find for all of them 2.50 for X 8 hours into 2.50, for Y department 6 hours into 2.50, for Z department 4 hours into 2.50. This is 10, this is 20, this is 15. This is 45 total. It is same as was given in question. Chargeable expenses given 5. Prime cost 120. Add factory overhead XYZ 50% of 20 10, 75% of 15 11.25, 25% of 10 2.5. add them and put in the outer column. 21.25 plus 2.5. I'm getting 23.75. So if I add, I get factory cost. Factory cost 143.75. Add selling expenses 10% of 143.75, 14.38 approximately. So I get their total cost 158.13. This is total cost for the job. The job cost sheet is complete here. Part 3. Add 20% of total cost. 158.13 into 20%. 31.63 approximately. Once added, what I am getting is 189.76. Selling price of the job. This is the answer of part 3. So till 158.13 was cost per unit, which was part number 1. And in part number 3, I add profit margin. I will get the selling price 189.76. That is complete illustration number 2. Hello friends. The next topic that I am taking up is labor costing. Now, labor costing is a very interesting and easy small topic. What we are going to cover in this is classified into various parts. I'll be covering one, concepts of remuneration and incentives. Here we'll be doing lots of plans of different people along with the basic plans. Number 2, I'll be talking about labor turnover concepts. In the 4 exams that we cover, there has been no question on labor turnover, the practical question. So I'm very much anticipating it may come any day. So one odd question from your institute module will be doing in this. Number 3, miscellaneous concepts. They are basics, broadly basics. Treatment of provident fund, treatment of ESI, that type of things will be there. In last 4 exams, there was 1 question out of this and 3 out of this. Remuneration and incentive has been most important concept ever, and in that also there are 2 plans which are very much liked by our institute. One is Halsey plan, one is Rowan plan. We'll be doing those in detail. I'll be going through all these concepts first, and then we'll be reaching some questions from last 4 examinations which were there. So starting with the first one, remuneration and incentives. Remuneration and incentives. There are lots of plans given in your institute module. I'll be covering few of them. Broadly, I classify your plans into 4 parts. Number 1, basic plans. Under this basic plan category, I am having time rate system, piece rate system. Piece rate system. This is plan A and B. They are basic plans. In second category, we will study improvements over piece rate system. We call them differential piece rate plans. They are also two in number. Taylor's differential piece rate plan and Merrick's piece rate plan. They are based on different person's name. The Taylor is same, who is called father of scientific management, F.W. Taylor, Frederick Winslow Taylor. Another person, Merrick, is also there, which we will study. After these, number 3, third category, improvements over time rate system. Here you will get most important two plans. The most important plans for your syllabus, Halsey, Rowan. There are many more, but we are going to do these broad plans. And fourth category that we do, miscellaneous. There are a lot more plans given in booklet, but I am concentrating on main exam oriented plans. Here only one plan will be doing. Emerson's efficiency plan. So broadly in remuneration incentives, how many plans we are covering? 9 plans in total. Starting with first, basic plans. Now time rate system, piece rate system, they are from the very basics of remuneration. Workers will be paid either time based or performance based. Time rate system, hours attended multiplied by rate per hour. How many hours you spend in the organization? There is timekeeping system. When you enter the factory, there is attendance time noted. When you go out, time noted. How many hours you spent in the organization for them? Multiplied by rate per hour. That will be time rate system. Now piece rate system, units produced multiplied by rate per unit. If units produced are not known, then second alternative, time allowed multiplied by rate per hour. Make it sure this first formula is preference 1. First formula is preference 1. If you cannot apply this first preference, then only you look at the time allowed into rate per hour. Now simple analysis I like to make. For the workers who are inefficient, which plan is good? First one. Inefficient workers. The worker who gets sick, will not be able to perform in the organization. For him also, time rate system is okay. He can go there, attend there, may not produce anything, still will get the wages in the hour of need when he is sick. New workers who are under training, because they cannot produce so much, output they will not be able to give, but money they will still want. For very efficient worker, good workers, the piece rate system is good. Efficient and productive workers. For labor unions, they don't want a classification of productive being different from unproductive workers. They want the union. They want the strength to be together. So they want one standard rate per hour to be paid to everybody. Obviously, depending on the cadre, depending on skilled, unskilled, rate per hour can be different. So this is broadly the basic systems. Now I'm first talking improvements over piece rate system. The piece rate system improvements, they're given by two people. One is Taylor, another is Merrick. Taylor said, inefficient people given a penalty. The efficient people given some price. So, if workers produce at or above 100% efficiency, give them 120% of piece rate. Below 100% efficiency, give them 80% of piece rate. There are some authors, even in institute module, it says instead of 80, 120, 83% and 125%. 83% means lesser penalty, 125% means more reward. So it can be anything. According to Taylor, you must produce the target given to you or more. Then you will get 20% more or 25% more. If you don't finish your target, you get a penalty. Penalty is not liked by any worker. This is the only plan in all plans who is talking of penalty. No other plan talks of penalty. Merrick, what he said? Up to 83 1/3% normal piece rate. Up to 83 1/3% you will be given normal piece rate. Above 83% till 100%. 110% of piece rate means 10% bonus. Above 100%, get 120% or 130% as per policy of company of piece rate. So up to 83% means you are given target of 100 units. You produce 70. You will get normal piece rate of 70 without any penalty. Under Taylor plan, there would have been penalty. You will not get even your normal piece rate that was committed to you. If you produce 85, you will get 10% more. 10% bonus, 110% of piece rate. If you produced more than 100, you are given target of 100. If you produce more than 100, you will get either 20% bonus or 30% bonus as per policies of company. In exam, if you get like this, you will compute 20% also, 30% also, and right there, whatever as per policy of company will be given to them. These are differential piece rate systems. I'm reaching the most important part of this remuneration incentive. That is Halsey plan and Rowan plan. Concentrate the most here. Concentrate the most here. It is improvement over what? Time rate system. Try to understand first. Try to understand logics first, then I'll reach back Halsey and Rowan. Let us say time allowed 100 hours. Rate per hour 2 per hour. What does that mean? For this particular job, the management is ready to pay 200 rupees. 100 hours are allowed, 2 rupees per hour. So, normal wage on this job 200. A person works here 150 hours for same job. Under this category, which is called premium bonus plans, there is no penalty concept. Has to be paid 300. Next time management may remove that worker from here because he is inefficient, very inefficient. On 100-hour job, he is applying 150 hours. But this time they will have to pay 300. No great thing at all. Who is an efficient worker? Efficient worker, look at definition. Efficient worker is one who does a job in lesser than time allowed or standard time. Any worker who does a job in lesser than standard time is efficient worker, or who produces more units than standard in a given time period. In a given time period. Either you produce more units than standard or you take less than the expected time or allowed time. Now here, in this example, Mr. X completes job in 70 hours. How much will I pay him? 140 rupees. Amount saved for company 60 rupees. Company says, let us share this. Let us share this 60 rupees. Under Halsey plan, they say take 50%. 50% of saving you take, 50% we will keep. So how much he will be paid? He will be paid normal wages 140 plus 30 rupees of bonus, 170 he will be paid. Company is still saving 30 rupees. Under Rowan plan, it's not 50%, it is a proportion determined by a formula, time worked by time allowed. What I am talking about, under these premium bonus plans, for inefficient worker, pay only time wages, no bonus at all and no penalty even. No negative bonus concept. Don't try to put the formula for inefficient worker. Simply pay them time wages. For efficient worker, there are two components to be paid. One component is normal wages, basic wages. Another is bonus. Based on that, Rowan and Halsey wages can be computed. Is Rowan better or Halsey better? There is no answer to that. We'll check out. From worker angle, it can be different. From employer angle, it can be different. From employer, same payment is cost. For worker, same thing is earning. From worker angle, higher it is, better it is. From employer angle, lower it is, better it is. And moreover, employer analyzes more for per unit cost. Lesser labor cost per unit is better for employer. For worker, higher wage rate, effective wage rate per hour is better. We'll check out all these terms. I'm writing here something. You can keep on writing along with me. That will help you a lot. Premium bonus plans. For inefficient workers, no bonus, no penalty. Time wages only. That is time worked multiplied by rate per hour. For efficient workers, total wages is equal to basic wages plus bonus. Basic wages is equal to, again same, time worked into rate per hour. Bonus is equal to applicable percentage multiplied by time saved into rate per hour, which can be called as amount saved basically. Amount saved we apply on that specific percentage. Now what is time saved? Time allowed minus time worked. Means standard time minus actual time. If standard time is less than actual time, then the worker is inefficient, bonus not applicable. So make it sure only for efficient workers we are applying this. Last thing in this, applicable percentage. Hal say in absence of information is 50%. Question can tell you Hal say bracket 40%. In that case apply 40%. Question may say Hal say with 35%. Then apply 35%. But if question is silent, it says Hal say plan, by default it is 50%. Row 1. Make it sure it is not Rohan, it is row 1. It's an English name, not the Indian name. Here there is proportion. Time worked divided by time allowed. So it is variable proportion in every question depending on time worked and time allowed. Last thing I want to say, effective rate of wages per hour is equal to total wages divided by hours worked. Total wages divided by hours worked. So this is something applicable in almost every question. If question wants cost per unit, then total wages divided by actual units produced. Whenever you have Halsey or Rowan question there, input data requirement means I need three things. Very important to note and remember. If I get the three things, I can compute anything related to Halsey and Rowan. One is time worked, time allowed, rate per hour. If I get these three things, I can compute any Halsey Rowan computation. Students say we also need time saved. Time saved can be computed from here. Time saved depends on 1 and 2. 2 minus 1 is time saved. So all the formula can be easily applied. I repeat once again, total wages for efficient worker is basic wages plus bonus. Basic wages is time worked into rate per hour. Bonus is specific percentage multiplied by time saved into rate per hour. Time saved computed as time allowed minus time worked. And specified percentage is 50% for Halsey by default, and it's a variable proportion in Rowan, which is time worked by time allowed. If you can remember something like this, 3 out of 4 recent exam question can be solved. Most important concept in labor is this. I hope this much is clear. We'll be reaching questions when we reach. We'll be doing this Halsey Rowan there also. Reaching last plan there in miscellaneous, Emerson efficiency plan. Emerson efficiency plan. Now in this plan, what Emerson told, if your efficiency up to 66.67%, then simple time rate plan, time rate wages you will get. If it is greater than 66.67%, up to 100%, there is bonus up to 20%. Up to means it can be anything as per policy of the company. The question will tell you how much it is. At 100% is exact. Bonus 20% exact. More than 100%. Bonus is equal to 20% plus. There is additional bonus 1% for every excess over 100%. I can take an example to explain this. If it is 130% efficiency, I'll tell you how to compute efficiency also. But first, how to apply this more than 100%. 130% efficiency means 50% bonus. How did I get? 20% till 100% plus 30% over and above 100 will also be taken there. 20 plus 30 is 50. If it is 200% efficiency, 120% bonus. So, remember the application here. 20% at 100% is sure. Anything over and above 100% efficiency will be added in the bonus. Now, how to compute efficiency? How to compute efficiency? Computation of efficiency percentage. This is needed in Merrick also, Taylor also, here also, Emerson. So, how to compute efficiency percentage? It can be computed on two bases. Based on units and based on hours. This is actual units divided by standard units into 100. Based on hours, standard time divided by actual time into 100. So make it sure if actual production is higher than allowed production, then your efficiency will be more than 100%. If your actual time is lower than standard time, then the efficiency will be more than 100%. So remember it, this is more applicable for Emerson. And this is more applicable for differential piece rate plants. Because they are dependent on units produced. So remember, at different levels, different efficiency percentage formulas can be applied. These are two acceptable formulas in the examination. These are all concepts of remuneration and incentives. Next concept I reach is labor turnover concept. You must have gone through turnover ratios in accounting earlier, in +2 also, foundation also, otherwise also. Most of turnover ratios like debtor turnover ratio, inventory turnover ratio, higher it is, better it is. But here we are studying a different turnover, labor turnover. I'm just defining it before explaining more. It is rate of change in composition of labor over a period of time. Now, changes in labor, is this good or bad? Today, 100 people are working, manufacturing a product. Next day again, 100 are manufacturing, but they are different. They are not same. Somebody else doing the same job. Will need training. Will need recruitment. Will be doing wastages more than the earlier experienced people. Again, if they change, more cost. So excessive turnover is not good. High labor turnover is not good. But little bit of turnover will be there here and there. You are dealing with human element. The worker says, I am not in a mood to work with this company. How can you change his mood? Maybe with more money he can work, but not everybody. Somebody will say, I will not work, means not work. You control everything, let's say. Still, there is a reason for labor turnover which you can never control. Death of a worker. If death will happen, somebody new will come. So, labor turnover is bound to happen. Sometimes it is good also. New blood comes to your company, new ideas come to your company, young people on young foot come to your company. Can be good for the company. But excessive is bad. In this topic, we'll understand how to compute labor turnover and then effects of labor turnover. There are two topics. So, first I am talking about computation of labor turnover. The various methods, the formula depends on the name, more or less. Exception is there one odd, but there are many methods. Number one, new recruitment method. Separation method. Replacement method. Accession method. Flux method. Flux is a combination method, so you need to understand that for sure. Now, a general formula I am telling here. Name of method divide by average number of workers on roll multiplied by 100. What does name of method means? In first point, it will be number of new recruitments divided by average number of workers into 100. In second method, number of separations divided by average number of workers into 100. Third method, number of replacements divided by average number of workers into 100. Fourth method, number of accessions divided by average number of workers into 100. Flux, I am going to tell. Now, what are accessions? Number of new recruitments plus number of replacements. So, accession is nothing, new recruitment plus replacement, means number of people who joined your company as a replacement or for a new growth project, the new recruits which are there. The flux, two formulas are there which will give different answers for sure. Number of separations plus number of replacements divide by average number of workers into 100, because all are in percentage, into 100 will come everywhere. There is a second formula also giving a different answer, alternative formula. Number of separations plus number of accessions divide by average number of workers into 100. Now, everybody has different definition of turnover and accordingly different method is applied. Do you get same answer under every method? No, not possible. Not possible at all. Different answer. Obviously, compare with past, same formula. You will be able to know whether the turnover is increasing or decreasing, whatever it is. This is computation. Theoretically, causes of labor turnover, theoretically, very important question. You can read through your institute booklet, you will find many reasons there. Avoidable reasons, unavoidable reasons, personal reasons, many things you will find there. Another thing in this, consequences of labor turnover. Consequences or costs related to labor turnover. Consequences or cost related to labor turnover. Now, one very important cost to remember in one practical question also, we will solve it later. Very important cost. Opportunity cost. That is profits lost due to lesser output produced and sold. Instead of profit, we can use term contribution also. We will be doing this later in marginal costing. What is contribution? What is profit? What is the difference? But here we can use the term contribution for sure. How to compute it, we will do in a practical question later. Other than that, this is opportunity cost. This is not that you are out of pocket cost. You are not spending something, but you are losing something, some profits which you would have got if there was no labor turnover. You would have produced more, you would have sold more, you would have earned more. That earning is lost due to labor turnover. That is called opportunity cost. Very important cost there. Other than this, settlement cost. You are paying something to the labor which is going. Recruitment cost. Selection cost. You're taking interviews in a hotel, you're spending something on recruitment cost. You are calling for some expert people who can help in selection cost. Training cost, very important. Can be losses while doing early production. After training, when they are live, they'll be doing more damages than the earlier people, because earlier were trained people. Now these people are doing the production for the first time, maybe having more damages, more losses. That is also part of their cost. This is all that you will be getting in some practical question also. In last 4 examinations, there had been no question on labor turnover. In order to save you from some contingency, we will be doing one odd question from your institute module on this also. Lastly, in the labor costing, I am talking some miscellaneous concepts. It's named miscellaneous, but it is basic concept. I'll call it basic concept. Now, when you do remuneration and incentive, in most of the questions I say, whatever is earning for the worker is cost for the company. Normally, earnings for worker is equal to cost for company. So if question wants labor cost, it is same. If question wants earning of worker, it is same. But payment to worker can be different from CTC, cost to company, due to contributory schemes. There are many welfare schemes of contributory nature. 2 examples that you will get in a practical question also. Employees Provident Fund, EPF, Employees State Insurance Scheme, ESI scheme. Now these are the points to be considered carefully. Now let's focus there. Take a simple example to understand a concept. Later on, you will get a practical question from exam questions. You will understand much more. Let us say basic wage is 1,000. 8% of basic wage is Employee Provident Fund. Equal contribution 8% each by employer and employee. Now try to understand pay to worker 1000 minus 80, 920. Cost to company 1000 plus 80, 1080. Now try to understand these 280. This is employee contribution and this is employer contribution. And you can note difference in these figures is 160. Where does 160 go? It goes to Provident Fund Corporation and will be paid to the employee at the time of retirement, death, superannuation, whatever. As of today, he is not being paid this. Out of employer pocket, 1080 is going. Out of 1080, 920 given to the worker, 160 deposited in Provident Fund Corporation or PF Trust, whatever is applicable there. So, cost to company and worker earning today, paid today, may not be same due to the contributory schemes. They want employer and employee equal contribution of whatever percentage mandated by law or as per policies of the company. Labor laws are there, they may define. Otherwise, company can give higher than those labor laws. Labor laws put minimum, this much should be given. So this is one concept which will be very important in analyzing cost to the company and to determine wages being paid today to the worker. If you have to compute wage rate per hour, it will be cost to company divided by hours. Wage cost per unit, it is wages cost to company divided by units produced. So focus on cost concept and earning concept differently in the basic concepts which are given there. We'll be reaching the practical questions next.